Hello there, and welcome to 10 advanced tips and tricks for defending yourself and your base in Rimworld. In this video, I have a lot of little things in my list that will help you out in keeping your folks more safe, building bases that are defendable and are fun at the same time. Now, let's get started with number one, which is not a construction thing, but something that is really worth noting. Whenever you have the opportunity to recruit people that have not the best skill spectrum or traits that make them a little bit less desirable, like slow learners or slow workers or stuff like that. In Rimworld, losses are inevitable. Funneling the losses on people that you don't care about is a wise strategy. Always have 2 or 3 red shirts in your colony, sort of, if you are familiar with the term, people that are just ought to be sacrificed. Keep the rest of your folks safe at the same time, and it's always nice to have somebody to send in first for the dangerous missions. It saves you the thinking, it saves you the burden of weighing which one of your valuable people to send in first. You get the idea. Number 2, trap corridors for the early game. Things like these, imagine the walls would be built already. We don't have the stone yet. But things like these are excellent defense systems for the early and the mid game. The enemy conceives this as an open area. Even if the walls are squiggly and squaggly, doesn't matter. The enemy will thwack themselves through all those traps and eventually pour into our defenses where we can gun them down easily. These systems have their downsides though. For one, every one of these wooden traps doesn't pack that much of a punch. Their damage is relatively low, and therefore they really aren't that good at killing people easily. But they are easy to build in an environment where you have lots of wood. It's really easy to pull off, and it softens up the enemy before they get in sight, which is always a valuable status. More often than not, you also get people that you can pick up and recruit out of these. Either way, if there are more people attacking you eventually, you'll have 2 problems with this. Either you'll have so many traps that you'll be facing a really high consumption of wood and workforce to keep it running, and that becomes a real burden, or the trap count doesn't suffice anymore to kill off the dozens of attackers eventually. In short, this is a very nice early and mid-game defense system, keeping you safe while the enemy comes below 10 in numbers below 10, but beyond that, this gets overstrained as a singular method of this defense. Number 3, mortars. So mortars are just basically sort of your best friend. They are very powerful for a couple of scenarios. The mortars defend you against enemy sieges, because the enemy comes sieging, right back at you. Just shoot with your mortars. 2 of them suffice, and generally in all of the scenarios that I've been playing with. Just shoot at their site where they set up camp, and eventually they'll just attack you. If you don't, it gets a lot harder to lure them out of their fortifications. It ain't impossible, but I really like that one. And the other thing is, mortars help you with psychic ship parts from the mechanoids and also mechanoid cluster attacks. Invaluable resource. Mind you though, that you only have a limited amount of shots. They're terribly inaccurate, and you should store shells somewhere else than the rest of your stuff, because somebody might get a tantrum and think it's a good idea to kick the high explosive shell. Been there, done that. Number 4, use the hardest stones that you have available for the outside of your defenses. Here I have a little bit of a modded stone, so andesite is not a basic stone, but the basic stones, granite, limestone, are among the hardest, and marble and slate don't hold up that much. Sandstone is also relatively soft. Obviously, in your biome, there's always a different setup of stones, and my recommendation is just to try out which one has the highest HP, or you look it up in the Wikipedia, and use the hardest stuff for scenarios like these. Because in areas where there's a lot of gunfighting happening, too soft environments will crumple, and we'll have to be rebuilt again and again and again. It's not really that much of a terrible thing, but it's just annoying, and missing out a single repair after a siege might turn into a really nasty security breach. Speaking out of experience here. But long story short, Use the hard stuff for outside and the beautiful stuff for inside, and you're golden. Number 5. Wood is an excellent resource to rush structures with. So if your environment is providing lots of trees, you have an excellent opportunity to just tinker something together in response to an attack that comes with an announcement. There's plenty of attacks that come like this. The advantages of wood are simple. It has a very, very low amount of work units necessary, so it's built very fast. You can harvest tons of wood in a very short amount of time, and the flammability can be weaponized. So if this whole box here would be wood, I could be just set up somebody with Molotov cocktails over here and set that wall on fire while attacking people in front of here, and that whole thing would turn into a real dangerous contraption for the enemy. So I really like wood for this quality. And if you have a fight where you just need an edge over the enemy and you have a couple of hours time to spare before they come, might be an idea to do this. Number 6, use two factions versus one another. So when you have the scenario that some mechanoids are chilling on your map, or some insectoids or stuff like that, you can really use that to lure the enemy raiders that are attacking you into this already existing threat on your map. It works a charm. It is really one of the most fun things to witness, to see who is going to win. Just one word of warning though, you'll still have to fight down the winning party of the encounter, but more often than not, that's really just sweeping some shards off the table. I've even come as far as to say that with mechanoid encounters, the ones that are stationary on your map, if they are not really necessarily urgent to be cleared, there's a couple of conditions that you just can't ignore. They are really nice ways to clean off problems of the area of the map that just happen to spawn next my mechanoid infestation. It's really lovely, and I can only recommend to use it. It feels like an evil genius moment when you pull it off. Number 7, calling in help. So when you have microelectronics research, you unlock the comms console. Every faction that is somehow allied with you can be called in a very tough situation for backup. This means that it pays off tremendously to have friends, and it can be a very, very good joker card for encounters which you just don't know how to beat otherwise. Be it because the attack is too big, or be it that your colonists are currently busy punching themselves or laying down with food poisoning. There's plenty of reasons to need this. And knowing this and preparing for it is a really good idea. But use them as emergency buttons, as this is a resource that you need to refill, and you can't use it on every encounter. Now, number 8, use consumables when you find them. Exotic goods traders have plenty of cool items available, and here currently I don't feature too many, but here's a few things that you can use. The Psychic Insanity Lance, which sends people berserk, can easily send sieging people to attack you, because, they punch down one of their folks, and for some reason that often triggers their complete sign of attack. It also is very useful to take off the most nasty people. You there with your triple rocket launcher. You get the idea. Also, there are really useful things like the solar laser. I mean, obviously, this is really, really a very obvious one. And rocket launchers. Also really good when you have a good preparation moment. Either way, these single time use items are really, really nice to use in situations when a big attack comes. And when you see way more enemies than you'd like to see, check back with your warehouse and see if you found something. And stock up on some of those if you have a little bit of money to spend. Number 9, turrets. So turrets are a little bit of a topic for itself here. So here goes. We have turret-wise the mini turret, which is the smallest unit here. They don't have much firing power, They come only in a double shot count, and their accuracy is only in short range good. These guys eat up your steel and pretty much not much more. Their main advantage, in my humble opinion, lies in the fact that you can set them up like this, and melee dudes want to punch that. With some luck, they don't punch it until it's dead, but instead they punch it until it explodes. Can be really, really useful against insectoids and such. But beyond that, I'm not a big fan of the mini turrets anymore. I really think they got nerfed too hard to be used on a regular basis due to the fact that you need to put steel in. But if you have plenty of steel, they're awesome. You just need to put enough of them. You know, you just need more. But if you are short on steel and you feel like you are not yet fully staffed out, be careful with these. There is also the autocannon turret and the uranium slug turret. These two are excellent friends for heavy armored targets. Use these when the centipedes and the big things come. Turn them off for small targets because just like any other thing, they cost you a lot of ammunition for no good reason. So use them strategically, but the autocannon turret and the uranium turret have decent amounts of damage and armor penetration. Especially the uranium slug turret is a real beast in terms of armor penetration. Its accuracy just becomes very, very troublesome below long range, so you get the idea. And last, number 10, protection of your power assets. Electricity is one of the most valuable resources when it comes down to defense once you are past the trap age. Walling an area like this in has so many advantages. For one, the enemy can't pull the plug on you that easily. Duh. But if you get a drop pod attack into the inner area of your base, and believe me, more often it will happen more often than you want it to. I mean, obviously you can get unlucky and they drop pod directly to that zone. That happens, but it's the most unlikely scenario. It's much more likely that they spawn on here and you can take them out without them touching your power area. If the raiders start attacking your power grid, things are always annoying because imagine the wall would be gone, somebody punches your solar generator. If you come anywhere from this angle, that angle, that angle, that angle, we have no angle really except for that one to shoot without risking putting some bullets into our own buildings. That's annoying as hell. So you either peel them off with risky melee maneuvers or you just wall it off and just make this thing most likely not happen at all. If you are truly paranoid nature, just build several of these enclosures, 2 or 3 for your entire base, so if the worst case might happen, you're still set up to go. This is so important because turrets and stuff like that, without electricity, they are worthless, they can't do anything, and also in the aftermath of combat, you need electricity as well. If your food stockpiles are low, your refrigeration would go out. Bad thing. If you have hospitals with vital monitors and stuff like that, needs electricity. If you want to patch up people with electric light, you need electricity. And it does make a big difference if a doctor operates in darkness or in light. If you haven't had the pleasure to find it out yet, I wouldn't recommend because operating in darkness is a severe penalty. Anyways, you get the idea. Secure your power grid. It's really, really mighty. So, I hope these things help you out. Let me know what you think. Leave me a like, leave me a subscribe. Consider donating to the channel. Check out the YouTube channel membership system if you want to support me or my work. It would really mean a lot to me. Many thanks go out for all of you who do. And a big thanks especially to you for bearing with me even through the advertisements. Appreciate your time and hope to see you next time.